Welcome back. Today we're looking at Lost Orbit. However, just finished watching a new series on Netflix, it's called Final Space. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Reminds me of like if the writers of Futurama had the animation of Rick and Morty and the tone of like Gravity Falls. Anyway, it kind of inspired me to sorry, I'm adjusting the volume here. It was a wonderful space opera, and it made me want to talk about some narrative elements that I thought were really interesting. Still a little bit more. Isn't that good? So there's a lot of narrative in this game, so we're going to get right into it. But today, I want to talk about loss and hopelessness. I've played a little bit of this game already. You can see some of my earlier episodes. But I really want to restart the series. The developers are some wonderful guys. We met them at PAX. I'm actually going to close the door. I'll be right back. There we go. Ugh, sorry about that. It's pretty late at night and Ember's already in bed. So, I don't want to keep her up because I'm talking. Anyway, let's get into it. I really want to finish a series. The guys that made this game are amazing. I actually have a t-shirt from them from PAX. Anyway, I will... Oh, do we not get the... Okay, we do.
Good race, he said. I hope you learned a thing or two.
That's not what I want. Oh, right. I know what I want. Back to main menu. Yes. That was like a whole different world. There we go. Yeah, we need to start from the beginning, shall we? I forgot how long this game was, but that's okay. Something that... Well, you know what? I'll let the game narrate itself first.
He was as good as dead when I came across him, running through the motions of his tedious job.
Sorry. This is going to be back and forth a little bit.
He may as well have been. I hadn't seen a sign of life in gens. It was a rare treat to see some new creature waddle its way through space. But they never lasted long. He worked maintenance, traveling to the fringes of known space, patching up communications relays. They used to send drones out, but sending these poor bastards proved to be much easier on the wallet.
Thank you for blurring that out.
Now there's a fine line between brave and stupid, and this guy wasn't anywhere near it. Out in deep space in a tin can with the thick musk of recycled air, he was a worker bee who didn't see the big picture. He sat perched on that comm relay for spans. Couldn't quite come to grips with what had just happened. He didn't have a hope in hell without his ship. He scavenged himself an improvised set of equipment. At the time, I wondered where exactly he thought he was going to go.
Can't hear me very well right now, so we're gonna do this. Sorry. How's that? Okay. Hopefully that should be pretty good. So, one thing I love
No,
about
I've
this
never bet
game.
on anything.
Oh, yeah. But of course, now I can't hear him. Ah, this is gonna bug me.
But if there was anyone around,
Yeah, this is some quality YouTube right here.
my first would have been that he'd be dead before he made it 100 tracks.
Oh my god. Will you please select? Why? Okay, there. So, we've got basic game mechanics in this. However, the thing that I will really want to talk about, man, you guys can't hear me at all. How am I going to do this? Have we got controls? No. Have we got, like, no, not menu. Just volume. No way to do subtitles? Okay, well, we'll see if that'll do it. Hopefully. But the feeling of loss or hopelessness. So if we think about this character and where he is in this game, he's in deep space doing a job, like fixing comm relays and that kind of stuff. And the comm relay he's on breaks.
Nodes let him cover large distances. They were designed for ships, but surprisingly, they didn't tear him apart.
And what's interesting about it is because the ship breaks and the comm relay breaks, so nobody knows where he is, and there's no way for him to fathom getting back. Imagine being in that position. Kind of relates to life a lot of times, and I think that's why.
That severed my connection to the array.
Fine,
That's our
talk.
network. It crippled my long-range sensors, fractured my neural net, and gave me a nasty scar across my lens.
But it mirrors life a lot of times, where the idea here is the simple job of getting home. Oop, God, I forgot how brutal some of the deaths in this game are. But the simple job of getting home becomes this unfathomably hard quest that this main character is on, and all he's got is his spacesuit and himself.
Everything's gotta die. But this poor guy with nothing to live for, he wasn't going easy. I guess he figured he hadn't had a chance to live yet. Maybe we were more alike than I thought. I told myself it was only a matter of time before he'd be dead and I'd be on my way. If only it were that simple.
If only it were that simple.
Surprisingly, he was keeping a decent pace. I kept my distance, listening to his mumbling. Damn, I'm starving. I'd give my left nut for the crust off a burnt fry pan.
You may notice the narrator isn't our main character, which is very important in this. That overwhelming feeling of loss, and the game's very arcadey, so it's kind of this really interesting juxtaposition between the hopelessness that the character's got to be feeling about trying to find his way home in the middle of deep space, compared to the job he has to do to get there. And I think that's something that we can really relate to a lot in life. If you're thinking about things like how you're going to live the rest of your life, how you're going to think about retiring in your life, how you're going to think about meeting the person that you want to spend with the rest of your life, if you want to do that.
Now, I'm not going to call it pity, but watching him limp across the system, something in me wanted him to make it. I ran a diagnostic on myself.
And they say a lot of the idols that we look up to, I feel like they have the wrong qualities a lot of times. They've got super strength, they can fly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like a lot of the television and media and movies that we watch nowadays are all focused on what makes a hero.
Knowing he was done for made him take all the risks he'd skipped his whole life. I dare say he was almost enjoying himself.
When a lot of times what makes a hero is just being able to see that unfathomable job and taking that journey one step at a time, and like the things you don't think about. What if this character has kids back home? If he were to make it back home, they would probably call him a hero just for being able to do that. And all he's doing is going home. I mean, you look at like Homer in the Iliad, very similar kind of story, just, you know, not as sci-fi-ish. Yeah, the show made me think about it. There's a lot of in space-time, in a spacesuit kind of thing, as well as a lot of the themes of loss and hopelessness, and loss being, I don't know, it's this profound...
Now, navigating through the movements of the asteroid belt seemed a trivial task, but he struggled with the math. I decided to examine his brain post-mortem. I added a reminder to my calendar.
Yeah, you'll notice the narrator talks very strangely, because once they introduce him, I mean, it makes a little more sense. Also, the soundtrack for this game is superb, and you can pick it up on Steam. This game is also available on Steam. If you want it, make sure to check the link below. The game is obviously not sponsored, as you can see how big my channel is. So, but that feeling of loss is something that I find, something that we as human beings kind of share in that experience. We all experience loss differently. Sometimes we crash into the side of an asteroid because we don't know how to play a video game. We all experience it differently, but that feeling of grief is something that we can still all share in, even with our unique experiences. When I talk about grief, it probably pulls up a few memories in your head as well. And I find it really interesting with narration and how much I enjoy narratives that have things like loss in them, and kind of building. It's interesting to build up the empathy and build up a character and have them kind of change in front of you to the point that you start to get to know who they are and how they react to situations, and then just pulling them away. Like, a lot of times it's interesting trying to kill a character in a narrative. A lot of times a lot of people will kill a character because they feel like that's the best part of the narrative.
If you ask me now, I couldn't tell you what possessed me to save him. I can only say that in that brief sim, I wanted him to live.
There you go. They introduced us to the narrator, this little drone that flies around with our astronaut. I also didn't check our yes, our upgrades, because we do have upgrades. You know, a bomb would probably be smart. I don't know how to do it. Can I not do a bomb? Oh, we have 62. I thought we had 82. That's my bad. Okay, so we do have breaks. Now we're hallucinating about all the food that we want. But yeah, what's the difference between, like, a character that you don't care if they die in a story and a character that brings tears to your eyes if they die or if they lose something dear to them, right? Also, I enjoy how they kind of villainize our narrator there. Horizon. Right, this one's heavy narrative, so I won't talk. In fact, there's going to be a lot of this.
Unintentional as it was, I had walked right up and introduced myself. He thanked me for saving his life. To this gen, I couldn't tell you why I did it. He told me his name was Harrison.
Harrison, that's
He's hungry, and he wants to go home. The closest thing I had to a name was a dynamic address. Cut off as I was, you could call me Null. Barbecue is life, he told me. There isn't a thing in this galaxy that doesn't taste better with grill marks on it. Ribs, coleslaw, some of Mom's rhubarb crisp, and a scoop of vanilla. I'd never eaten before. Harrison told me, that's a damn shame. We're 4 systems away from my home planet. Nearly 2 to the next communications relay, he said. That's the only way anyone's gonna know I'm still out here. I have to make it.
Those insurmountable odds, that impossibility of even thinking you could ever make it. Just by himself. By himself in the middle of space in his little space suit, and you've got, like, systems to go, so solar systems away. And you have these things that jump between them, but, you know, I mean, it's a video game, but it's still, it's this beautiful analogy of...
We passed an abandoned mining colony. It was nothing but automated junk the miners couldn't be bothered to scrap. The machines were old, run down. He was right at home.
It's this beautiful analogy of life sometimes. Thinking, well, if I don't get that promotion, I don't know if I can afford
There never
rent.
seemed to be a shortage of scrap obtainium. It wasn't edible, believe me, he tried. But I was able to craft it into useful upgrades.
Or if I pay for gas right now, I'll be able to get to work, but I can't get groceries. And if I don't pay for gas, I can't afford the train, so you have to risk getting a ticket or something like that, right? Like, there's these hard or impossible choices in life, and the real heroes, I think, are the people that, ouch, are the people that make those choices and live those choices, because they're not easy to live with either. And you sacrifice. And I think that's the hardest part. That's where the loss kind of comes in, with that feeling of hopelessness. No matter what you do, one way or another, you're going to have some form of sacrifice and loss, at potential wasted or chances blown. And that can make you feel like words I don't want to say right now. Ouch, that was dumb.
That's going on YouTube.
Yeah. Also, I'm not great at this game. So I want to beat this game. I think this series will eventually divulge away from the existential anecdotes and more towards the shut up, I'm playing, I have to concentrate. Because it gets difficult. As you can see, my scores keep getting less and less. From the platinum to gold to bronze. Oh, I do not want to see what that one ended up looking like. I'm trying to collect all these. I don't have to. I want to. Killer soundtrack. Killer color palette. Like, the design of this game is incredible. And the gameplay is really fun, super responsive. So, I mean, I've never had a complaint to this. This is one of my favorite indie games, period. It's so simple by design, and yet so complex in execution. And a lot of times, I find if you want to succeed in this game and in life, you've got to slow down and think about what you're doing, rather than just slamming your head into an asteroid that you can already see is coming. Yeah, I knew it was coming too. Okay. Slow down, man. Take your own advice. I don't know. One of the best things I ever did was started writing blogging, and I went to school for writing because that's the best way I have to express myself. I'm trying it, man. I'm trying it differently now. with these YouTube videos, and we'll see how much that continues and how deep we get into it like that compared to my writing. But how do you guys deal with loss? How do you deal with the shitty choices you've made or the bad situations you've had to live through? And how do you get over it? Right? How do you get past that? How do you wake up the next day and go, yeah, you know what, this happened, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to exist, and I'm going to have to deal with it. So that could be the hardest part. It's knowing what could have been, or what might have happened, and knowing that it didn't. Last level of first system. I did this a lot faster than I thought I was going to. I'm impressed. 2 upgrades available. Close call. Oh, that was a close call. Sorry, I'm totally concentrating right now. And just lost in my own thoughts. It's an interesting night. It might not sound like it, but work actually went very well today. I found out the last 2 days or so I started really enjoying the job and, getting over my own insecurities. I went to school for a lot of time to get out of the exact situation that I'm in right now. And that's my challenge lately, is how do you get past that? How do you become okay with that? How do you wake up and go to work the next day going, you know what, I tried something, and it took me a good chunk of my life, and I failed.
He was growing bolder.
He was growing bolder, so he slapped face first into an asteroid.
He was growing bolder, tearing past rocks at breakneck speeds. All that's missing is the wind in my hair, he remarked.
That kind of says a lot in what I was trying to say too. That whole statement. He's in this hopeless situation, and you've got to take that situation and turn it into something that you can stomach, something you can enjoy. The only thing that's missing is the wind in my hair in this hopeless situation, right? Anyway, that was different. Let me know if you guys liked it. If not, also let me know. I guess that would be unfair to people that didn't like that. But I guess until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do me a favor. Click that like button, click that subscribe and the bell and all that fun stuff. And until next time, much love, and I will see you then. Ciao.